Welcome to Find Your Strong, the podcast that's here to help you free yourself from food rules, fitness guilt, and those weird detox teas.
Oh, do not get me started, Ella.
All right, I won't. I'm Ella, nutritionist and intuitive eating counselor.
And I'm Christine, personal trainer, intuitive eating counselor, and your hype woman for joyful movement.
You are, woohoo! Together we talk to experts, share stories, and hopefully leave you feeling a bit more at home in your body.
So if you're ready, let's find your
Hello,
strong.
how are you? We're back again. Aren't you excited? We are talking about all things movement today, aren't we, Ella?
We are, yes.
And what specifically, I want to talk about why we move and why a lot of us move, or why a lot of gyms tell us we should move, rather than why, the benefits of moving that do not involve shrinking our bodies or weight loss. I think that's what we're going to
Exactly.
talk about.
Yeah.
But where do you stand with it all, Ella? Obviously,
Oh,
we've
you know.
we've chatted about exercise before, but I don't know. I'm feeling, because it's the summer coming up. Everybody wants. You were talking about, you went to Pilates class and they talked about what?
Yeah, it's
more.
just this sort of normalized commentary that you get. Oh, this is hard, but think about your bottom in a bikini at the end of the day. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm thinking about my bottom getting me up the stairs and getting me off the sofa when I'm 80. So that's my kind of mindset around why I exercise now, is because I want to make sure that my muscles are strong, that my bones are strong. I'm seeing it with my parents. They are getting very frail and they're not actually moving their body. I'm just forever talking to my dad about, why don't you pick up some strength training? Oh, no, 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 I go for walks. I'm like, yeah, but that's not going to support
No.
your back. That's not going to help you stay strong. It's great exercise, great cardio exercise, I feel like the emphasis for probably younger people is all about aesthetic goals. If you do that, you get a six pack. If you do that, you lose weight. If you do that, you and I'm going to use this, and I know you hate this word, tone your muscles, which is complete
Yeah.
nonsense. And for older people, it's almost like, oh no, I'm fine. But are you? Are you fine? Are you able to walk up the stairs without getting out of puff? Are you able to pick your grandchildren up and swing them around in the garden? Are you able to walk to the shops? And it's that kind of thing. So my mindset has shifted a lot over the last couple of decades, in terms of I just want to be fit and healthy and move. I want to have the
And
functionality.
you know what? I listened to a podcast called Fuel Your Strength with Steph Godrow, who's been
Oh, she's lovely.
on
Yeah.
this podcast. And she interviewed a journalist who basically did a whole YouTube channel about training mum and dad. And her parents were kind of in their 80s, and just becoming, her mum was becoming immobile and not able to get off the floor and do all the things. So she built a gym in the garage and they've started lifting barbells. And oh my goodness, the change
It's amazing.
in their mobility, in their strength, in their confidence
Yeah.
is incredible. You should go check it out. I'll put the link in the show notes. But
Yeah.
it was just, it really lit a match in me, or it was incredible. It was just to show you that you don't have to sort of, even if you're 80 and you're feeling like, oh, I can't move the way I used to, and there's no point, it's too late. It's never, never too late.
It absolutely isn't. Yeah, this is the one time where the algorithm is working out for me, because I started looking at those posts and those reels, and now I'm getting flooded with them. There's this I can't remember them all, but again, I'm very happy to put them in the show notes. In Australia, they're like a physio team, and they work with older people to just get them to balance and to walk in a
Yeah.
straight line and not to feel like they can't get off the chair. Then there's this other account that shows this 98-year-old guy doing like all sorts of amazing stuff, and it's given him a new lease of life. There's this lady who trains someone with osteoarthritis who wasn't able to walk, and now she's just without a walking aid and she's
Wow.
just off. And I just think that is just so amazing. And I think we probably need to like reframe what we do and why we do it a little bit, don't you think?
Yeah, but maybe that is we are given that, I'll be 50 in a few days and you'll be 50 not far long after
Mm,
me. Is that just because we're suddenly older now, Ella,
mm,
that we're tuning into this kind of stuff? I think it's really hard to sell
100%.
this to 20-year-old
Hmm.
people who are going to the gym, who
Yeah,
might be going for that, chasing that aesthetic, because in my
yeah,
20s, that's what I was doing.
yeah, yeah.
So I think just having a lot of compassion and understanding for people who are chasing that aesthetic,
Hmm.
because it's the air we breathe. I keep saying that the sea we swim in is absolutely everywhere, isn't
Hmm.
it? And
Hmm.
it is that reframe came for me absolutely in my 30s and
Hmm.
40s rather
Hmm.
than in my 20s. So I do think, I keep talking to my kids. I'm like, you've got to think about, when I see them hunching over, I'm like, you got to think about opening your shoulders so that you're not,
Hmm.
and they don't care.
No, of course not. Yeah,
But they do want to feel a bit fitter and they get that kind of thing. But the idea of preparing yourself for old age
yeah,
falls on deaf ears
yeah,
for my teenagers.
yeah,
And I can understand that. And maybe it
of
is a
course.
little bit about finding the access point for people.
Uh-huh.
So as much as people in their 50s will resonate with what we're saying
Mm.
because they're feeling it. They're feeling the
Hmm.
aches and pains and they're
Hmm.
they're struggling to get down to the floor the way they used to and
Hmm.
tie their shoelaces or put on their ties. Do you know what I mean? So they're going,
Mm.
I know what you mean. I better start strength training. And that's
Yeah.
why people come to me because they're like, they suddenly go, oh, that's aching a bit. It didn't
Hmm.
used to. And I'm feeling, they suddenly start to not feeling quite as mobile as they used to. Or
Mm.
so, do you know what I mean? I'm
Mm.
thinking, is it okay to have different access points?
I think it's completely okay. It really is, and you're spot on. I think it is whatever stage you find yourself in life, your goals and your aspirations change. That doesn't mean that younger people can't think of it as a longer term thing. But yeah, I
Yes.
totally get that. I mean, my teenagers, when I talk to my daughter, I said, you need to move more because you're sitting an awful lot with your phone in your hand. She's like, well, why would I? I mean, talking to her
Yeah.
about bone density and muscle mass is like, what
Well,
now? It doesn't register. It's not important. And, old age is just so far away. They're not even, and that makes sense. It's not relevant at that moment in
and
time.
there's other ways in. I do find so I've been doing a bit of research into kind of weightlifting as part of recovery from eating disorders.
Mm,
There's so much research on that at the minute, which is
mm,
really exciting.
mm-hmm,
And there's also kind of trauma-informed weightlifting
mm-hmm,
qualifications and amazing stuff that's going on out there. That
mm-hmm,
certain modalities can really help build confidence in people.
mm-hmm,
And just help them feel a bit more resilient or more able to cope with the stresses of life. So
mm-hmm,
that's a different angle completely. The movement for mental health thing
mm-hmm.
can actually be really powerful. Obviously, it's
Definitely.
not a replacement for therapy, never would be, but it can really help you feel it's that sort of self-efficacy and that confidence to feel
Mm,
strong in your body and like you can do hard things and you can overcome things, you can push heavy weights, you can do.
mm-hmm,
And I think that can be valuable for a
mm-hmm,
person maybe at a different stage of life that is struggling.
mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I think you're right with the access points. I think we need to have different access points for different people, but it's not all just about age, is it? I think there
No.
are some younger people who probably will find the idea of functionality of their body quite an
Yes.
interesting angle because maybe their bodies aren't working the way. I've worked with a lot of younger people who I wouldn't say they were immobile, but they had so many issues with their bodies, and partly due to inactivity, or partly it was like one of those catch-22 things.
Yeah.
You're aching, you're not doing anything, you're not doing anything, you're aching more,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So I think that can be an access point for all ages. But like you said, in
100%.
terms of mental health, again, that could be for all
That's for
ages,
all ages. That's what I was
right?
trying to say.
Mm,
That's across the board. And at
mm,
any point you can kind of use movement in a really positive way.
yeah.
And it's just it is just trying to get people to reframe it and ask themselves why they're moving, or
Mm,
if that question that I often ask on Instagram, it's like if it had zero impact on your appearance, would you still move in the same
mm-hmm,
way? And I think that's a
mm-hmm,
really valuable question
mm-hmm,
because movements, the benefits are move of movements are like this.
mm-hmm.
and these are apart from weight loss. Do you know what I mean? Completely. If you put weight loss over there,
Yeah.
benefits of movement are crazy. There's so
Mm-hmm.
many, and we're kind of
Mm-hmm.
meant as humans to move.
Yeah.
And that is no shame for people that do not move. And there's no value, there's no morality in movement.
No.
But I think it just, certain things will be easier
Yeah.
if you can move in a way that works, that feels good for you. That's
Yeah.
all I would say.
Yeah. I suppose
Um,
it's everyone's personal decision whether they want to move or not. What we're
and
saying
yeah,
is that, as you said, it'll make a certain amount of stuff in life easier if you have that functionality, if you have that mobility, if you have that ability to do things for sure.
yeah. But tell me about this. It's the misinformation out there is also, every gym that you go into, it's like,
Mm,
do this for your long, lean muscles if we're
mm-hmm,
talking about toning.
mm,
And, Pilates for strength training. I've got an amazing client, Neve Daly, who wrote a book on yoga for menopause,
mm-hmm,
and for bone health, but still does not believe that yoga is the answer, the full answer for menopause, as in
mm,
she believes that you need to also do strength training for
mm-hmm,
your bones and for your muscle mass and
mm-hmm,
other modalities, whereas we're
mm-hmm,
sold yoga, do Pilates, and that's
mm-hmm,
enough.
mm-hmm,
And and again, it's completely your choice whether you want to engage in any of this that
mm,
we're talking about. But
mm.
I hate when people are getting the wool pulled over their eyes. I hate it so much.
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
you know what I
whatever
mean?
sells, right? And I think this the I think we've got a lot more data now and a lot more research on healthy aging, if I want to call that, in terms of, that it is important to do weight bearing exercise for your bones. That maybe we didn't know that because for years, for
Maybe.
decades, it was all about cardio and jumping up and
Yeah.
down and doing that kind of stuff. And now we know that jumping, yes, it's great, but you also need to do something to strengthen your bones and your muscles. So I think while we are still learning and adapting, it's definitely worth kind of looking at all different angles and not just thinking yoga is the one thing and that's all I need to do. But, you're not training everything. You haven't got the variety. It's just the one thing, isn't it? And that we're being sold is probably one of the most expensive activities we can do. If you go to a
Yeah.
single yoga lesson and you buy the kit and you buy the mat and you buy the Ayurvedic teas that go with it, it's a lifestyle that's being sold, isn't it? With yoga often.
Yeah, same with Pilates.
Pilates as well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And there's a
Exactly.
certain look that almost is synonymous with both
Mm,
of those, which
mm,
is, and that's why maybe I quite like the weightlifting, the sort of the posts that are coming out by women weightlifting and
mm,
people weightlifting. It's just it seems to be slightly different in terms of bodies.
mm,
So we have a more diverse body, so
mm,
there's more representation. That's the
mm-hmm,
impression I get. Maybe it's because
mm-hmm,
I live in a bubble where I only follow accounts that, I want
mm,
to follow, so I don't get all of the
yeah.
toxic fitness culture stuff. But I don't know, I find it taking up space. That's if you're going to lift weights, and especially heavy weights,
Mm-hmm,
you kind of have to say, well, I might build muscle.
mm-hmm.
And that might be heavier than that. I might gain weight because of the muscle mass. I might put
Yeah.
on muscle mass. And it is
Yeah.
kind of talking to yourself and doing the work to be
Mm,
okay and accepting of a body that might change
yeah.
in a way that doesn't tally with skinny talk.
Yeah.
And that's really hard. That's really hard.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. I mean, that's one of the intuitive eating principles, isn't it? Is like movement, feel the difference. It's not about look the difference. It's about feeling it and understanding that feeling stronger is is valuable as opposed to trying to shrink your body. But that's so hard because that's not what we're being told everywhere else around us, right?
But then if you go by how you feel. So this is
Mm,
definitely something that my whole business is about, basically helping to reframe movement. And
mm,
rather than looking at how you want to look, it's like how do you want to feel? How do you
mm,
want to feel? Do you want to feel energized? Do you want to feel
mm,
more mobile? Do you want to feel, do you know what I mean? It's like powerful. Do you want to feel strong? Do you want to feel this? It's people don't really ask them. I'm generalizing hugely, but
Mm,
generally, clients that come to me don't think about how they want to feel.
mm,
They don't even think they can ask themselves that.
mm,
Because they should be exercising more, they should be eating less, they should be looking different. They shouldn't have the menno bellies in inverted commas.
mm,
They're not, their bodies need to change. So they don't
mm,
actually sit back and go, maybe my body isn't the problem. How would I actually like to feel when I'm moving?
mm.
And it is just giving yourself permission to ask that question or to
Yeah.
allow yourself to feel good when you move.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, 100%. I think the problem with that is exactly what you just said. It's the shoulds. I mean, we're being told you should do that. And with kind of it doesn't go against what I just said a minute ago, but there's a lot of shoulds. You should be doing this kind of
Yeah.
exercise. You should be doing that kind of exercise. You should be eating that, but you shouldn't be eating that. It's just all about the shoulds, and we're being told what to do. So, whilst I'm a massive fan of weight bearing exercise and weightlifting and that kind of thing. You don't have to take it to extremes. You
No.
don't have to do it at all if that's not what you want to do. If you want to dance, dance. If you want to do yoga, do yoga. Movement is better than no movement for sure. It's just a case of while we're learning about what kind of movement does what to our bodies, I think, keeping an open mind about what those different things can do to our well-being and to your point, feeling. How do you feel?
Yeah.
Some people don't feel. So I,
But
you
I
know,
disagree with you then because if you think about intuitive eating,
mm,
it's exactly that. You can eat what you want to eat. You can tune into your body and have what you want. But at
mm,
some point, we talk about gentle nutrition.
mm-hmm.
So it's the same with movement. At some point, we go, what do we
Yeah,
need to
yeah,
help us do the things we
yeah,
love? To do
yeah,
the things we love, we actually do need to look at joint health and muscle mass and bone density. That's so
sure.
it's a complicated one. There's nuance here because I'm with
Yeah.
you on the shoulds. And you can live the rest of your life and not move. That is entirely up to you. There's no
Mm-hmm.
moral value to movement
Mm-hmm.
whatsoever. I cannot say that enough.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do move, I think that just move in any way you want is doing you a disservice. I think those posts are fantastic because most people are doing things, punishing themselves with movement
Mm,
constantly.
mm.
But I do think if you want to keep doing things you love, you got to tend to the joints.
But then,
Otherwise,
yeah,
you can't
I
dance. You
I
say,
agree.
let's dance, but you won't be able to keep dancing unless you're, an absolute aberration. If you're
Yeah,
sort of a miracle of
yeah. But then
genetic
that is
miracle.
exactly the same with food.
Yeah,
It is exactly the same because, we don't want the shoulds, and you have complete autonomy to eat whatever you want. And if that
yeah,
is something that, makes you not feel great, you still have
yes.
that option. And it's the same with movement. If you enjoy something, you don't want to do anything else, you have that autonomy to do that. But it's it is that feeling the difference. You will not feel well if all you eat is cream cakes. And there's
Yeah,
no moral judgment on cream cakes, but you will not feel great. And I can promise you that, just like you can promise somebody that you will not feel great in your body, in your muscles, in your whatever, if you just stick to one particular
if you
exercise.
just
There is,
run, if you just run,
yeah,
you're going to get injured. And
yeah,
at some point, again, 80% of runners incur injuries, which is the
yeah,
highest of any sport. So it's
yeah.
just a good example to,
Yeah. Yeah,
to
I've got
give.
my husband's ex-work colleague. He was an ultra marathon runner. He had a hip replacement in his 30s because
Oh,
of the running.
oh, it's so.
There is certain things that, and I don't want to use the should, but it's about what you said. How does it feel? How does it feel if you just eat cream cakes? How does it feel if you just run? Is there something else that you can do that you can add in? And this is the same as I say to people that work with me on their relationship with
Add
food.
in.
What can you add in? I don't want you to stop eating cream cakes. Far from it. Love it. Go for it. Knock
Absolutely.
yourself out. But what could you add in so that you can feel better? And I think it's the same with exercise, isn't it? What can you add in?
What can you add in? And also knowing, that there is strength does not mean you have to go lift heavy
No,
barbells to get
no,
benefits. There's
no,
so many different ways into strength. You know
absolutely.
what I mean? And it is different for everybody, and there is a point to get into that for
Mm.
everybody.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean you've got to be doing a Olympic weightlifting, jerking massive
Yeah.
barbells. It is, I hate barbells, and I understand lifting super heavy is supposed to be the most efficient, but actually the research is changing at the minute. It's all over
Mm.
the place. So I'm look, it basically means if you're challenging your muscle, whether it's through volume, whether it's through intensity, you're challenging your muscle, and it is more
Mm.
about that than it is about having to
Yeah.
do the massive loads. But it's more about it's undeniable that it is beneficial.
Mm.
And I think that's where I always struggle because I don't want people to feel the should, but I
Hmm.
also really want them to be able to move in a way that feels good for their bodies. So it is
Yeah.
that, isn't it? It is that
Mm.
kind of, yeah, nuance,
Mm.
isn't it?
Yeah, definitely nuance. And when you said about the very heavy lifting, that seems to be quite fashionable at the moment. I just I want people to know that that is not what you have to go for. And I know that I won't be going for that. Yes, it's impressive if yes, someone can deadlift 100 kilos. Brilliant, good for you. I don't think that is my goal. I would be quite, quite happy with a lot less, but still building that strength and keeping that strength.
Yes.
But, again, it's each to their own, but it's not something that only because you see a lot of TikTokers lift heavy or carry sandbags around a yard doesn't mean that that's what you have to do. You can do it on a very different level and
Hmm.
get
I
really good
think you can,
benefits.
your way in. I mean, I quite like a sandbag, and
Hmm.
we all know I love kettlebells, and I do lift fairly heavy weights,
Mm.
but that modality works for me because I'm ADHD. I find kettlebells interesting. They're fascinating. You can do snatches with them. There's sport. You can juggle. There's lots of things you can,
Juggle. What?
yes, you can. Look it up. It's incredible. If you look up,
Wow.
so somebody I recently had a session with who I'd love to get on the podcast, Tiffany Longcore at Tiffness Fitness. She does juggling, and it is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Not in her living room, outside in the grass, in a park, in a field. Do you know what I mean?
With steel-capped shoes?
Yes, yes,
I was
steel
going to
cap shoes.
say, that
But
sounds
there is
really broken
competitions.
toe.
There are competitions and they're
What?
incredible.
Oh my
I have
gosh.
to send you this. I'll put some stuff in the show notes.
Please do. I'd
But it
like to
is,
see that.
I think it's about finding what works for you,
Yeah.
and challenging. So when we say the progressive overload, it is individual
Mm.
and it is about challenging your muscle. So you
Mm.
live in your body and you can feel that and you can determine kind of if you were challenging your muscle.
Mm.
And yeah, the research is ongoing at the minute, and it
Mm.
seems to suggest that you do not have to lift the super heavy to get really good benefits from strength training.
Hmm. So
So,
explain this the progressive overload to me and anyone who might not be familiar with that.
well, if you can lift 2K
Hmm.
and you continue just to lift 2K for the
Hmm.
rest of your life, you're not going to build muscle, you'll maintain muscle.
Hmm.
Unless you do 2 reps one week and then you do 3 reps, then you do 4 reps, then you do 5 reps. But with the territory you're getting into there is you'll end up having to do 100 reps to.
Yeah.
So that's when I'd suggest, why don't we go heavier? And
Okay.
then we're kind of building that muscle.
Okay.
And as we hit 30, we start declining in muscle mass. So it is actually people are worrying about building these huge muscles without cause because it's
Hmm.
really hard to build muscle. So, and because we're losing muscle, we're basically trying to maintain it.
Hmm.
So you're trying to build muscle back. And then if you
Okay.
want, if you can build a bit more.
Hmm.
But mainly we're trying to counteract the decline in muscle
Hmm.
mass.
Hmm. And does
Um,
that mean that in terms of the progressive overload, that at some stage you will be, given that you're losing muscle mass, will that mean that you're getting weaker and therefore you're probably hovering around the same weight that you're lifting? Or
say that again. So what?
so if you're losing muscle mass and you're
Yeah.
just sort of maintaining it with the same weight and the muscle mass still goes down because you're not progressively overloading what you're lifting, will that mean that that muscle is going to be trained with the same weight, or do you still need to add the weight
So
on
it
to
is.
rebuild it?
I mean, that's a good question, and I would be lying if I could tell you the answer
Okay.
to that. But the main thing is challenging your muscle.
Yeah.
And so if you do 2 reps for 6 weeks with the same weight, your muscle's going to
Hmm.
go, this is really easy, and it won't feel the
Mm,
challenge. So what you
mm.
want is for that muscle to feel the challenge.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're doing the same weight every week,
Hmm.
it's not going to be challenging the muscle, and that's how we adapt. That's how adaptations happen,
Hmm.
is because
Hmm.
your muscle is challenged, and then mini tears, you recover, and your
Hmm.
your brain goes send signals to the muscle going, you need to get bigger because we're lifting
Hmm.
heavier weights, so you need to be bigger to cope with that. So
Hmm.
it is, or we're doing more reps, or we're
Hmm.
doing more. So it is, it's very individual, but it's if you can work with a trainer.
Hmm.
It's very good. If you can get a really decent plan, it's great. If you
Hmm.
don't have the finances for that, I would just say challenge your muscle as often
Hmm.
as you can when you're
Hmm.
lifting weights.
Hmm.
Take it step by step. Go to about an 8 out of 10.
Hmm.
Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
And
So go
the
to your
reason that
range.
exactly, and the reason that heavier weights can be better for some reasons is that we you don't have to do as many reps, which means the
Mm.
wear and tear on the joint isn't as much.
Okay. Yeah, that makes complete sense. If
So
you do like 100 reps with something that's too light, really, for you,
yeah,
and you
yeah,
do 10 with something that's heavier,
yeah.
you're not putting too much pressure on the joint, but you're just using the muscle more, right?
Exactly,
Mm.
exactly that. So it is,
Mm.
but that's just, I don't, again, there's no moral value attached to that.
Hmm.
But I definitely would say look into it because you never know. And a lot
Mm.
of people that have come to me because they have heard we need to build strength, we're over 40,
Hmm.
end up loving it and feeling
Hmm.
just strong and
Hmm.
resilient and kind of, do you know what I mean? Realize
Yeah.
they can do
Yeah.
things that are hard that they didn't think they could do. And
Yeah.
that's been the biggest shift that I've seen in people that they always thought they couldn't do
Yeah.
things and most people that come to me are so much stronger than they think. So much stronger.
That's an interesting one, really, isn't it? Because
Mm.
I think there's so many people who think, oh, that's just not for me.
Yeah.
Wait, oh, I've never done that. And I was talking about my parents earlier, and I think it's their mindset. Oh, wait, no, that's not for me. That's not something I do. Why the hell not, right? Why not try and see what it's like to lift something? And when you said about the kind of that feeling of empowerment when you can actually lift some heavy shit, I think
Yeah.
I totally get that, and I also find that with other things that I do. For example, cold water swimming. That's for me, it's not a sport. It's not massively exercising because I just go in, swim a lap, and go out. But someone asked me, why do you do that? Why would you do that? And I
Yeah.
said, it's given me this, I can do things that are tough
Mm.
kind of attitude. And that sometimes is really helpful in other areas of life. It's not easy to go into 4 degrees water in the middle of winter when it's
No,
dark.
no.
It's not easy. And it gives you that slight sort of mental, oh, I can do hard things.
Yes.
Quoting Glennon Doyle here. But yeah, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think it's a similar kind of thing with weightlifting. When you lift something, then you think that looks really heavy, and you lift it and like, oh, I just did that.
And it's so funny you said that. I felt the same when I used to swim, do the cold water swimming in winter.
Mm.
You come out going, I could do anything. I
Yes.
am invincible.
Yes.
I just went in the freezing cold water and it gives you
Yeah.
that little kind of wow, look at me. And it is that there's nothing wrong with feeling like that. God, we all
No.
need a bit of that, don't we? And
Oh,
that's I
yeah.
think that's why I like the heavy weights. But that to say, I'm not always consistent and that's it's something that I would preach to you is that
Mm.
you have to go with your energy on any
Hmm.
given day in terms of what you do. So I'll have certain times that I'm going to show up and work out. But some
Hmm.
days I don't want to lift weights.
Hmm.
So I don't.
Hmm.
And it's, I'll maybe do something gentle on the floor. And,
Yeah.
you don't, you can find a routine that works for you or,
Mm.
a basic structure with lots of flexibility that works
Mm.
for you and can somehow fit into your life.
Mm.
It doesn't have to be go big or go home.
Yeah.
You know what I
But
mean?
that's not what we're being sold when we buy into programs. We have to stick to the plan.
Yeah,
We
but then
have
so
to,
yeah, but this is the thing. We
right?
all go hard at it, hard at
Yeah.
it, hard at it for
Yeah.
6 weeks, and then we're burnt out and
Uh-huh.
stop and do nothing
Yeah.
for. And
Yeah.
it's much better to do something regularly,
Yeah.
do less
Yeah.
or regularly, than
Yeah.
do it all at once and then not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But also if you're buying into a program that asks you to train, say, 3 or 4 times a week, you feel like you're not doing it right if you skip 2 days because you're not feeling it or you're doing something gentle. And I think we really need to, we're not going to step backwards. We are just listening to our body and we're having a rest when we
Yeah.
need it.
And if you have a good coach, they should work with you and with your
Mm,
energy levels and with
mm,
with your
mm.
capacity.
Yeah.
Because we've all got shit going on, Ella, and we don't
Hmm.
always have that capacity to do 4 hard workouts a week.
Exactly.
And that's not a failing on our part.
No,
That is
no.
simply life getting in the way. And I think you've
Yeah.
got to find a coach that's compassionate enough to go, right, what can you realistically fit into your life
Yeah.
weekly? Maybe one session, great. If you can do two 1 week, brilliant. If you can't, let's stick to one.
That's fine. Hmm.
That's what I always say to clients coming in. They're like, oh, shall I do 4 sessions a week? And I'm like, let's do one.
Hmm. Yeah.
See
What?
how we get on.
Yeah.
And if after, 5 or 6 weeks you find, oh yeah, I can absolutely fit that into my life, then we'll
100%.
think about adding another one. But I think there's just too much emphasis on I've got to do 4 or 5 sessions a week, otherwise it doesn't.
It
I,
doesn't.
and
Mm.
it's absolutely not true. And I've seen people once a week for small group kettlebell training that only do it with me, don't do anything else in terms of strength,
Hmm.
and they have built strength.
There you go.
Do you know what I mean?
So
I've
yeah,
seen huge,
yeah,
huge. And
yeah.
fair enough, if they'd done it several times a week, that might have been quicker progress, but
Mm.
they make progress nonetheless.
Yeah. I think
So,
that's really important for people to hear and understand that you can do once a week. You will
mhm,
make progress. Yes, it might be slower than if you
yeah.
do 4 times a week, but also you're doing it in a sustainable way.
Yes.
Because if you're hitting the gym or whatever 4 times a week, that's not sustainable for most people. That's not, you're gonna get curveballs thrown, work, family, whatever, life happens, and you
And then you'll
can't
feel like
keep that
crap.
up. Exactly that.
Yeah.
Exactly that. You feel like you're failing at it. And I think anyone who's selling you something that insists on you doing a certain number or you're not doing it right, you
Yeah.
might want to see the red flag and run a mile and find someone, as you said, someone a bit more compassionate who works with you rather than dictates and puts lots of shoulds on you.
And what I wanted to ask you, because I know that you're doing kind of somatic experiencing, aren't you?
Mm.
Are you
Mm.
doing a course in it,
I
Ella?
finished the course, yeah. Well, it's not somatic, it's not the full blown 3 year somatic experience, but yeah, it's a trauma integration course that I did.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
In
somatic
terms of
work.
when we get these feelings, so as summer approaches,
Mm.
we're in classes and they're talking about, it can be quite triggering or upsetting, or it can set off, can
Mm.
be a body image disruption if you're in a class and they start saying,
Mm.
let's work towards those bikini bodies,
Mm.
and you can start that self-comparison. You can start looking in mirrors and judging yourself. And what happens if you feel that panic and that sudden, how do you deal with that in the moment? Because that's something that I'm finding with myself even.
Mm.
Um, as summer approaches and you suddenly go, oh, hold on, and you've got to take a step back. But how would you
Mm.
talk somebody down if they're having that, but I need to change, or I need to work out more, I need to eat less, I need to get into that bikini body?
Yeah.
How would you start with somebody?
Oh, I mean, it really depends on the person and where they're at. I think in the moment, it's always easier said than done. I think a lot of it is in the prep work and in the regular kind of working on your nervous system responses and building that window of tolerance over time so that when you are in a situation that's triggering, you can fall back on the
Yeah.
strategies and you can fall back on that sort of increased resiliency. So I would say in the moment acknowledge that that felt triggering, that felt hard, and allow that to go through, and then maybe work on building that resilience by you can in a session, for example, you could kind of conjure up that feeling, or you could use a
Yeah.
memory that brings back a sort of a lighter version of that feeling and work with that and learning to sit with that because that feeling isn't going to kill you. That feeling isn't
No.
going to do anything to you. It just feels overwhelming because that's what your body has learned as a response. Like, this is fight or flight. This is a
Yes.
threat to my life. This triggering comment that whoever made, this is a threat to me. Your body just completely overreacts to whatever was said. So for me, I would say it's about learning that to sit with that stress response. And then gradually that will decrease and you will build a window of tolerance where that stress response isn't overwhelming and you can handle it by just letting it flow through your body and off you go. So yeah, in the moment it's really hard.
Yeah, and it's something that's so interesting because I've done some work on the nervous system with
Mm,
Tasha and Brandon. So I'm
mm,
doing kind of every day, I'm doing some sort of nervous system regulation.
right.
And I see it. I see it because I used to get these from neural pathways from my anorexic youth and various eating disorders and just
Mm,
body dysmorphia, everything.
mm-hmm.
There's times that I will look in the mirror and see something that I don't like and panic and go,
Mm-hmm.
and it's I had a moment a couple of days ago and I was able to go just sit with it and actually just go outside and maybe just breathe a bit
Yeah.
and then go, I don't have to react to that. That's a
Mm-hmm.
thought. That's a thought coming from a place that's just a
Mm-hmm.
pathway that is well trained,
Mm-hmm.
give me these, responses. And I don't
Yeah.
actually need to do anything. It doesn't mean that my body is wrong. It doesn't mean that
Mm-hmm.
I am wrong
Mm-hmm.
at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just about being really kind to yourself
Mm.
in that moment and
Mm.
knowing that it's a very normal thought, but it
Yeah,
doesn't mean it's true, and it doesn't mean you have
no,
to do anything, which is the
that's
hard
right.
bit, isn't it?
Oh, because we're being told that we have to fix something that doesn't feel good, right? And
Yeah,
those thoughts and those feelings don't feel good in the moment. But just imagine how resilient you'll be when you are allowing the things that don't feel good to just be there, allow
yeah,
them to be there and not be scared of them. Takes all the anxiety away because they can't hurt you anymore, can they?
no,
I've just listened to a really good podcast, and I won't link it in the show notes because it's in German, and I would imagine most people listening are not German speakers. But it was about shame, and the researcher that was interviewed was talking about how we always want to, you know, get rid of shame. You mustn't be
yeah,
ashamed. You must not feel shame. And he says, no, we need to invite shame in because shame is there for a reason.
yeah,
We don't want to be shamed into something that, doesn't apply to us or that, that we take on, that isn't our burden to take on. But if we feel shame, that is a response, and let's just sit with that and see where it takes us. And it's the same with kind of negative anxiety kind of emotions that come up or triggering things. It's just like, let's just see what it's trying to tell us. What is that
and
trying
yeah,
to say to us, right?
and it's about talking about it as well. And doesn't Brené Brown say something about it can't
Yeah.
live like shame can't
Yeah.
live in a I don't know. There's some
Yeah, shame can only, I don't know exactly, but it's about shame can only survive in the shadows when you hide it. When
yeah,
it's out in the open, it's
it can't
actually, it wilts. It's
exactly.
like a weed that you pour vinegar on. It just goes
Exactly that. And it
because,
is, there's no point in us sitting going, we have it all figured out. We don't get these
oh,
moments because
no,
it's
of
not true.
course we have
And
them.
and I think it is that window of tolerance and it is
Mm.
that distress tolerance
Hmm.
more than window of tolerance. It's that distress, being able to sit
Yeah,
with,
yeah.
okay, my body, I'm going, hold on a second.
Hmm.
Hold on, just take a minute
Hmm.
before you start Googling, ways to whatever, workout
Exactly.
plans or whatever you need to do. Just
Yeah.
take a minute before you do that. And I
Yeah.
just listened to a podcast myself with Stephanie Michelle, who's also been on the podcast, who's fantastic.
Loved her.
And she was saying about she gets now if she looks at herself in the mirror and starts thinking, oh, I need to change my body, she gets angry at that. She's like, oh, angry at society for making her feel that way. It's just,
Yeah.
so rather than going, oh,
Yeah.
I better give into it, she's like, I can't believe.
I know,
giant
right?
posters making a movie. Like, do you know what I mean? And I think
Yeah.
that's a really good way to think about it.
Yeah, it's using your anger in the right way, not against yourself, but at society that's actually telling you something that is untrue. That reminds me of a very short interaction I had with someone at the checkout at the supermarket yesterday. I can't even remember how we got into it, but it was about something that I bought. It must have been some biscuits or something. And it was something along the lines of, oh, I'm trying to. She was talking about her grandson's birthday and having three cakes. And it was that typical narrative of, oh, just have to look at the cake and I put on
Put
weight.
on weight, yeah.
And I was just sort of chatting about, well, it's nice if we can actually come to a place where we can enjoy a piece of cake and not feel bad about it. And she said, "Oh, I've been on a diet for all my life." And I said, "Well, isn't that a sign that it's not working if you have to be on it for your whole life?" And she said, "Oh." And I said, "And also who's saying we need to be smaller?" And she said, "Do you know what? It's just me." And there was a literally, you could hear the penny go like, boom. And I thought, oh, okay, maybe she's now starting to think about what she's doing. There's no expectation from anyone else, by the sounds of it, on her shrinking herself. It's just herself. And
Yeah.
she was just a bit like, huh.
Well done, Ella.
Well, I don't know if it's gonna, if it's, but it's that kind of thing that, who says,
Yeah. Who
right?
says?
Who
Who says?
says?
And one thing that I would encourage folks to do is not if people start going, oh, I need to lose so much weight, and just don't join that conversation.
No.
Like just don't comment even.
Mm,
Because it just ends it quickly and you don't because once you get into it, you start you going, oh, but you look fine, or you look and then you get into
mm,
dangerous territory. We end up commenting on people's bodies, which
exactly.
never ends well.
No. And
So
then you're entering into it's all about your looks kind of,
exactly. Well,
which,
it's
we
more
don't want to,
about you look fine. What is fine?
yeah,
Why do you look? You know what I mean? You don't
yeah,
need to, but why should any? You know, it gets into that tricky territory. Stand
yeah,
back,
yeah,
talk about something else.
yeah, definitely,
But
definitely.
we have to finish now, actually, because we've yacked on for so long, as we always do.
We've yapped on for a lot longer than I thought we would.
Yeah, I'm so
So,
pleased that you're my co-host because I would be a rambling mess without you to bring
no,
me down.
you wouldn't be. You wouldn't be.
In certain weeks, I just go
You'd
in
probably be a
circles.
lot more coherent without me sort of tangenting
Oh,
into
no,
the
no, no.
conversation.
It's very important.
Is
But
that
thank
even
you
a
so
word?
much. Thank you so much for listening, everybody.
Yes.
And always let me know and let us know if you have any comments or any feedback, or we just love to hear from you. And next week,
Definitely.
we have a very special guest. Tell
Very
us more,
exciting.
Ella.
Oh, we've got This Woman Lifts Elizabeth Davis coming to talk to us about, amongst other things, her book Training for My Old Lady Body, but also about generally how she got into the whole thing and how I mean, it's a nice segue what we talked about
Perfect.
today
Yeah.
into next week's episode. It's about, training for a body that is helping you to function in life, to stay mobile, to actually do the things you want to do rather than to shrink it and to look a particular way. So I'm really excited to talk
Yeah,
to her.
I'm
She
very
is
excited.
absolutely lovely. I met her briefly once. So yeah, I'm very, very much looking forward to it.
Brilliant. So join us next week. But for now, thank you for listening.
Thank you. Bye bye.